Cold wind rattled through the empty street, where 3 young girls walked home from evening lessons, laughter rising into the night air. They never noticed a shadow descending above, silent as thought, until the light swallowed them whole. There was no sound, no struggle, only vanishing footprints on cracked pavement. The neighbors would speak of missing children. The local police would call it a runaway case. But humanity knew better. Somewhere in the darkness beyond orbit, someone had taken what was not theirs. The transport craft slid through the void on an automated course, its cargo unaware of distance or direction. Inside, sterile white walls hummed with foreign power. The girls woke on cold slabs, wrists bound by bands of humming energy that tingled against their skin. Metal instruments scanned them, dissecting every heartbeat. Creatures of bone and chitin spoke in clipped, guttural tones, dismissing them as low-value specimens. The Empire had taken hundreds of thousands before, plucking lesser species from their worlds for cataloging and labor. None had resisted. None had ever mattered. But these 3 refused to cower. When a needle descended, one girl twisted against the restraints until her wrists bled. When they were ordered to drink nutrient slurry, they spat it on the floor. They whispered each other in coded fragments, a chain of comfort in an alien tongue no machine could decode. The guards recorded their defiance, noting anomalies, resistant behavior, psychological instability, primitive conditioning. But the scientists laughed. They will break, one said. They always break. The Empire believed in protocols. They believed in control. They had never met a species that believed in family more than fear. Far below on Earth, alarm bells rang in the halls of power. A child vanishing could be random. 3 girls, all taken in identical fashion, across separate towns, on the same night, pointed to something else. Surveillance satellites found faint ion trails in upper atmosphere. Listening posts along the outer colonies caught snippets of encrypted traffic in unknown dialects. Someone was hunting humans. The response was immediate, quiet, and absolute. Not panic, not pleading, preparation. Naval intelligence traced energy signatures to deep space outposts. Special command centers activated without public notice. Parents cried for their daughters. Generals swore blood oaths in windowless rooms. The order passed in calm voices. Find them, identify who took them, and end the threat. Days bled into weeks aboard the alien station. The girls endured questions, probes, chemical burns, electric pain. Other prisoners, scaled and soft-eyed, gave up secrets quickly. They begged for mercy. They told the interrogators everything they wanted to hear. But the humans clamped their jaws and whispered each other in the dark. One smuggled a sliver of metal from a broken light panel, prying at her restraints when no one watched. Another memorized guard patterns, noting the precise second when the patrol's cycle left the corridor unwatched. When they finally sprang their escape, it was clumsy and desperate, but violent enough to matter. A single guard went down screaming as a shard of metal punched into his throat. Alarms blared through the corridors. The girls ran barefoot over cold plating, leaving trails of blood and sweat, before the doors slammed shut again and the energy bands bound them once more. The Empire officers were furious. A small briefing convened in an observation deck high above the prison. They killed a soldier with nothing but scrap, one complained. Untrained primitives should not be capable of coordinated escape attempts. His superior dismissed it. Anomalies happen. They are vermin. Adjust security. No one considered that these vermin came from a world where children learned to fight long before they could read. The human intelligence network drew a tighter net. Encrypted transmissions, faint as whispers, were traced to specific sectors of deep space. Captured fragments of alien speech were decoded with terrifying speed. On Earth's surface, factories that had been idle roared to life under military command. War machines rolled out with black holes and silent engines. Orbital yards produced strike craft marked only with serial numbers, no flags. Not a single word was spoken in public. Humanity prepared its answer in darkness. Back in captivity, the girls faced new punishments. The scientists intensified their methods, longer restraints, harsher sedatives, louder indoctrination. No one is coming for you, an interrogator hissed in broken translation. Your species does not even know you are gone. No one will cross the stars for children. But the girls only smiled through cracked lips, as if they had heard a different voice whispering in their ears. A voice of fathers and mothers, of brothers and sisters, of a world that did not leave its own behind. The Empire misread defiance as madness. They had studied thousands of races, all bending in fear. They did not understand stubbornness without logic. They did not understand love sharper than steel. In high orbit above Earth, stealth reconnaissance craft disappeared from public registries, their transponders dead, their flight paths unknown. Deep in black hangars, officers briefed silent crews. Targets were marked. No negotiations, no ultimatums, only precise destruction. As the girls sat in darkness, whispering hope to each other, far away a fleet assembled in absolute secrecy. Warheads were primed. Infiltration units moved through silent corridors of alien spaceports, mapping weak points and killing sentries without trace. For the first time in galactic history, prey was hunting its predators. In the prison's cold corridor, an officer stood over the captives, gaze indifferent. "No one will hear you scream," he said, turning to leave. If he had looked back, he might have seen the faintest smile spread across a bloodied face. Not defiance born of ignorance, but of certainty. Humanity had heard them already, far beyond the reach of the Empire's arrogance. Fleets gathered like storm clouds. No broadcast announced their launch. No banners flew over their hulls. In the silence between stars, engines burned with a single purpose: to bring 3 daughters home and make those responsible disappear from history. The Empire thought it had captured children. In truth, it had just declared war on a species that never stopped fighting, no matter the cost. They had no idea humanity was already coming for them. The first alien research station died in silence. Its defensive satellites never saw the strike craft slipping through dark space on ion mass drives. Human ships built from captured scraps and native steel. No warning, no hail, no declaration. Only sudden bursts of electromagnetic fire, automated systems collapsing under precision sabotage. By the time the Empire's patrols arrived, the station was cold wreckage, its databank stripped clean, every trace of human fingerprints erased. The Empire blamed malfunction, incompetence, sabotage from within. No one imagined that a species so primitive had crossed the Gulf so fast or struck so cleanly. Earth did not speak, it built. Underground facilities lit up in forgotten mountain ranges. Fabrication plants worked day and night forging black hole corvettes, stealth drones, and boarding pods. Every officer understood the order. No rescue without punishment, no extraction without extinction of the threat. This was not a search and save mission. This was an extinctive response, a doctrine whispered in strategic circles for decades, waiting for a reason. 3 daughters were reason enough. Empire intelligence dismissed human military movement as meaningless noise. Their analysts saw no new fleets massing in known ports, no high-energy transmissions revealing mobilization. They never thought to look in the cold edges of the solar system, where refitted asteroid mines produced guided weapons and carriers hid in frozen shadows. What the Empire could not see, it did not fear. That blindness was fatal. The girls remained in custody under harsher conditions. Sedatives pumped through restraints, alien interrogators rotating in shifts to crush their spirit. When one refused food for 3 days, they injected nutrients by force. When another mocked their translator devices by speaking in riddles, they doubled the electric shocks. But humans endured as if pain was an old friend, as if fear was an unlearned instinct. Rumors crept through the station's lower ranks. Something out there was destroying remote posts. Logistics convoys went dark. Entire research nodes stopped reporting. The whispers reached even the cell block. Strange stories of an unknown attacker hitting Empire facilities, killing without warning. The girls exchanged glances in the dim light, knowing the pattern without speaking it. Their people were coming. Human covert operations hit faster, harder. A pair of Empire listening outposts near a gas giant vanished under coordinated sabotage. Reactor overloads triggered minutes apart. An orbital lab devoted to xenogenetics suffered a total systems crash. By the time reinforcement arrived, its staff was already dead, throats cut with surgical precision. The aliens called it piracy. They suspected dissident species. They never dreamed it was the very primitives they had abducted. In meeting chambers filled with smoke and static, Empire officers argued, "If it is the humans, why do they not open communications?" One demanded. "Because they are not negotiating." Another answered, but no one listened. On Earth and her colonies, families volunteered intelligence. Scientists broke open alien tech in secret basements, and soldiers boarded black transports without farewell. No propaganda, no broadcast, just preparation. Every strike was guided by fragments of alien code decrypted in hours rather than years. Human cryptographers bent entire languages apart like paper, something the Empire's bureaucracy had not thought possible. Every act of brutality against the girls was transmitted back through intercepted channels. They knew what was being done to their own, and every act was tallied for repayment. Alien Command tightened its grip on the captives. Interrogators promised freedom in exchange for information on human defenses, but the girls only laughed, bleeding from cracked lips. They whispered names of constellations and places that meant nothing to their captors, but everything to themselves. One scientist, disturbed by their unbreakable will, filed a warning. "This species is aberrant. They do not conform to expected behavioral collapse. Prolonged coercion will yield nothing but unpredictable retaliation." His report was buried. The Empire had ruled too long to imagine real defiance. Then came the first true sign. A human reconnaissance drone penetrated deep into Empire space, sending real-time telemetry before self-destructing. For the first time, coordinates of the girls' location were confirmed with near certainty. Special Forces ships rerouted instantly, using alien slipgate systems against their makers. The order was clear: recover them alive, neutralize any witness, cripple the holding facility, and leave nothing behind. As the humans prepared to strike, the Empire began to panic. Too many facilities had gone dark. Too many high-value stations had been hit by invisible enemies. Logistics failures spiraled. Fleet movements became confused and contradictory. Some called for diplomacy. Others insisted the attacks were coincidence. High Command assured itself that humans lacked the ships, the range, the coordination. They believed their own lies until the black hull of a human destroyer appeared in sensor logs inside a supposedly secure sector, obliterated a garrison with pinpoint rail fire, and disappeared without trace. In the prison, guards doubled in number. Sensors hardened against intrusion, yet fear crept through their ranks. They had seen reports. Unknown ships, silent killers. When the youngest captive smiled at a guard during roll check, he shivered, though he did not know why. Somewhere beyond the stars, her people were already killing his comrades. Somewhere beyond his understanding, a war had begun and his side was losing before it realized it was fighting. Back on Earth, leadership issued a final internal directive. No contact, no warning, no compromise. Every human asset mobilized toward a single conclusion. The captors would be eliminated to the last ship, their empire burned to ash if necessary. This was not rescue. This was punishment. It was also a message to every eye watching from the darkness. Harm one of us, and we will erase you from history. The alien officers in charge of the station prepared new measures: deeper sedation, neurological probes, forced memory scans. They wanted to carve answers directly from the captives' brains. But they were already too late. Human infiltration teams were en route, guided by silent beacons and coded star maps, each soldier carrying the weight of a world's fury. While the Empire debated whether to escalate or appease, humanity had already chosen. The response was extinctive. The mission was personal. The end was inevitable. By the time Alien High Command realized the scale of the threat, too many of their defenses were gone. Systems collapsed. Fleets failed to launch. Sabotage crippled their supply lines. And still they did not comprehend what they faced. Primitives do not wage wars like this, one admiral insisted. They do now, replied another. Too late to matter. The girls endured one last interrogation, as engines whispered in the black beyond. Their captors promised them life if they spoke, death if they stayed silent. They gave neither answer, only a stare as cold as vacuum. And far away, the ships meant to bring them home ignited their drives, engines burning white, carrying soldiers who would not stop until the threat was ended, and those who thought humans weak learned what humanity truly was. The alien station never saw the strike craft coming. One moment its patrol sensors reported silence. The next its primary reactor control screens went black. The first boarding pods punched through armored hull as if it were paper, cutting corridors apart with shaped plasma charges. The guards barely raised weapons before they fell, throats slit by blades that hummed with stolen alien tech. No warnings, no negotiations, no survivors left to sound alarms. The humans moved like ghosts, black armor swallowing the glow of emergency lights, rifles whispering death in controlled bursts. In the detention wing, the three girls heard only muffled thunder first, then screams of their captors. A cell door hissed open, and a figure stepped through the haze, visor blank, voice calm. "You're safe now. Stay close." They stumbled from their restraints, weak but unbroken, as medics checked vitals on the move, already guiding them toward extraction routes carved with blood and fire. No one explained who these soldiers were. They didn't need to. These were their own, and they had come a very long way to get here. The rescue was only one part of the mission. Elsewhere in the station, demolition teams planted charges, gutted data cores, and purged every trace of human vulnerability from the Empire's stolen files. Communications relays were infected with black ice viruses that would spread like wildfire through every connected system. The order was simple: leave nothing the enemy can use. Leave no one who saw what happened. When the humans departed, the station was nothing more than an expanding cloud of vapor and debris. The return trip was brief and silent. The girls were stabilized, fed, and debriefed in low voices. But there was no celebration, no pause. What the Empire had done could not end with rescue. This was not a warning mission. It was the opening blow of a war to erase the threat entirely. Even as the ship carrying the captives sped toward safe space, other fleets were already moving, loaded with weapons meant not for skirmishes, but for extermination. Human forces struck deep into Empire territory with relentless coordination. Shipyards burned before fleets could launch. Logistics depots vented atmosphere into the void. Entire garrisons disappeared under precision orbital strikes that left no survivors, only wreckage drifting cold. Every attack was surgical, deliberate, unstoppable. The Empire's admirals shouted for counteroffensives, but their fleets were blind and fractured. Command nodes failed as cyber weapons ripped through networks, spreading faster than they could isolate. For every world humanity hit, they learned faster, adapted quicker, struck harder. The Empire had never faced an enemy like this, one that fought as if there was no distinction between victory and survival. Captured alien ships turned against their masters within days, refitted with human control systems. Missiles were pulled from automated assembly lines and launched almost as fast as they were built. Every act of brutality committed against the girls was matched 100-fold, not out of cruelty, but as a warning written in the wreckage of enemy fleets. This was no ordinary war. This was a reckoning. On border worlds, neutral species watched in awe and terror. The Empire had ruled for centuries, its power unquestioned. Yet here was humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, carving through the giant's arteries with merciless precision. Word spread fast. No one else dared touch Earth's people. In private councils, alien governments swore to stay far out of humanity's path. The Empire, choking on its own arrogance, tried diplomacy at last. Messages of truce were sent through dying channels, but they reached only empty space. Humanity never responded. No one on Earth had ordered talks, because no one wanted them. The doctrine was clear. Those who take our own do not live to regret it. They simply do not live. The decisive strike came at the Empire's core command hub, a fortress world ringed with heavy defenses. Human fleets emerged from slipspace at point-blank range, bypassing the perimeter entirely through hack gate systems. The battle lasted minutes, not hours. Defense grids were shredded by saturation fire. Human drop teams descended through burning skies, clearing bunkers room by room. In the command citadel, alien generals died at their posts, unwilling or unable to comprehend how their dominance had collapsed so completely. When it was over, the hub was ash, its leadership gone, its fleets leaderless. What remained of the Empire scattered into uncoordinated fragments, hunted down one by one. The girls returned home to a world that had changed. They were alive, honored as symbols of defiance, but they were not the same children who had been taken. They had seen what their people could do when pushed past the edge. Humanity did not cheer its victory. There were no parades, only quiet recognition that a line had been drawn in the dark. No one touched Earth without consequence. In the aftermath, human ships broadcast a single message across every known channel, translated into every language the Empire had ever cataloged. This is not a warning. This is a fact. Harm one of us, and we will end you. The signal echoed through dead systems, bounced off shattered stations, carried by fear into every corner of the galaxy. Other species rushed to offer alliances, not out of love, but survival. They had seen what humanity did to an ancient empire that thought them weak. They knew the cost of testing such a people. Where the Empire once ruled through terror, humanity ruled through certainty. No one dared provoke them again. The girls walked to their front door under a pale sky, into the arms of family who had never stopped searching. No one spoke of what it had taken to bring them home. No one had to. Far away, among the stars, the wreckage of an empire still drifted, silent testimony to what happens when anyone mistakes human compassion for weakness. The galaxy learned a simple truth that day, burned into memory with fire and steel. Humans do not forgive. They do not forget. And when they are wronged, they do not stop until nothing remains of the enemy. They thought humanity was fragile. They learned humanity is fire.